here's what's happening.
A man hacked 16 NASA computers. What he found is beyond chilling. Between February 2001 and March 2002, Gary McKinnon, who was initially looking for evidence of free energy suppression and a cover-up of UFO activity and other technologies potentially useful to the public, hacked into 16 NASA computers as well as dozens of U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Department of Defense computers. The Americans believed he had caused $800,000, £487,000, worth of damage to computers. In the last decade, countless whistleblowers have come forward arguing that there are shady organizations within world governments that have been operative under extreme secrecy. Declassified documents, made available thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, have given unprecedented insight into top-secret programs that were previously considered as just another conspiracy theory. Curiously, many former astronauts have made intriguing comments in regards to alien life. I suspect that in the last 60 years or so, that there has been some back engineering and the creation of this type of equipment, which is not nearly as sophisticated yet as what the apparent visitors have. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth astronaut to walk on the moon. Interestingly, thanks to statements from former astronauts and government officials, these subjects have slowly transitioned from being a conspiracy theory to real accusations backed by information. Senator Daniel K. Inouye said, "There exists a shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself." One of the best quotes regarding alien life and their presence comes from Paul Hellyer, former Canadian Defence Minister, and the man responsible for combining the Canadian Air Force, Army, and Navy into one united force, known as the Canadian Forces. Mr. Hellyer said, "Decades ago, visitors from other planets warned us about where we were headed and offered to help. But instead, we, or at least some of us, interpreted their visits as a threat and decided to shoot first and ask questions after. Trillions, and I mean thousands of billions of dollars have been spent on projects about which both the Congress and the Commander-in-Chief have been kept deliberately in the dark." According to a man who, somehow, managed to hack into NASA and U.S. Navy computers, all statements from different whistleblowers about secretive space programs, highly classified technologies, and even alien life are correct. Between February 2001 and March 2002, Gary McKinnon, who was initially looking for evidence of free energy suppression and a cover-up of UFO activity and other technologies potentially useful to the public, hacked into 16 NASA computers as well as dozens of U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Department of Defense computers. Gary McKinnon, the man who hacked NASA, firmly states that he uncovered evidence that the United States has a fully operational fleet of space warships. In a new interview on UFO channel Rich Planet TV, McKinnon finally reveals the entire truth about his findings, saying, "I kept going for months and months. I kept thinking, they're going to close this door. I scanned and looked for documents. I found an Excel spreadsheet which said, non-terrestrial officers," states McKinnon. It had ranks and names. It had tabs for material transfer between ships. I took that to be, they must have ships based in space. The name started with USS. Gary McKinnon is accused of mounting the biggest ever hack in the history of the United States by breaking into the computers of the Army, Air Force, Navy, and NASA. Furthermore, the NASA hacker claims that he uncovered around 25 rows of details of officers' ranks, names, and ships accordingly. McKinnon firmly argues that the secret space fleet has warships with prefix USS, just like all vessels belonging to the USA. In 2005, McKinnon told The Guardian, "Once you're on the network, you can do a command called netstat, network status, and it lists all the connections to that machine." There were hackers from Denmark, Italy, Germany, Turkey, Thailand. Every night for the entire 5 to 7 years I was doing this. But are these just empty claims? Is this just a massive conspiracy? Even Obama discussed McKinnon. According to retired aerospace engineer William Tompkins, thousands, not just a few, thousands of people have joined the Navy here in the United States. They joined the Space Navy. They signed up for a 20-year tour. So these folks, men and women, were given a lot of examinations and a lot of information on what they were going to need. Many of them went to the moon, our moon, and facilities there, and got checked out and organized and established where is the best place they're going to go, what their criteria is going to be, what major area they're going to develop, like what class in the university. And then they get sent to a Mars facility for a short time. Thompson and McKinnon aren't the only two who've spoken out about a secret space fleet. Secret Space Program whistleblower Corey Good said that Mars was first visited by the Germans as far back as the 1930s, but during the 70s, U.S. space programs were actively exploring Mars and other planets to establish bases. In 1980, the USSSP became Solar Warden. Under Project Solar Warden, vast development and colonization occurred on Mars and other planets. Good continues, bases on Mars were built under the surface. In addition to Good, a former NASA employee claimed there were secret manned missions to Mars over 20 years ago. In an interview with Coast to Coast AM, a woman by the name of Jackie talked about humans on Mars, something that has been discussed among other alleged NASA employees for years. Then I saw two men in space suits, not the bulky suits we normally used, but they looked protective. They came over the horizon walking to the Viking Explorer. So what's your verdict, fact or fiction? Some would say it's all a massive conspiracy, and quotes, information and declassified documents were taken out of context, but the truth is that there is plenty of stuff which makes it hard to tell. Many would agree that there is abundant evidence which points, at least partially, that society has not been told everything there is about UFOs, alien life, and extremely advanced technology.
Today's Alternative News Channel, your daily source for up-to-the-minute breaking alternative news. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the bell and share.